Lord, I don't know what's wrong with me. 2 weeks in a row I've done this. The introduction and the outro is too close together. I'm going to have to separate them because I keep hitting the wrong button. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host, Brian Parker, along with my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. Almost had the perfect NFL week. Almost. Just a couple
Almost.
of points. Couple
Okay.
of points. So, of course, the Steelers went out and handled business against the Atlanta Falcons.
They did indeed.
And that helps my Carolina Panthers.
Right.
Yeah. But the Carolina Panthers end up not making any ground on Tampa Bay because of a last-minute comeback by Brady, but New Orleans should have had that game. And my Steelers don't make any ground against the Bengals because they upset the Chiefs. And then the Ravens, in last-minute fashion, pull out one against the Broncos. So
yeah, with Mr. Tyler Huntley at helm. So we'll get into all of that because that was definitely a sore spot. I picked the Saints to win for two reasons. My climbing on the primetime mountaintop looked like I'm slipping, and I got to take more risk to be able to gain ground and pick games that aren't necessarily chalk where everybody's going for, the likely winner and, hope. And also, when you think about it, the NFL season has been full of so many games where if it was played out on paper, it would have resulted differently than the actual result that happened once the game got played.
Oh, absolutely.
So there was a lot of precedent for that. And like I said, the Saints, for whatever reason, no matter how bad they are, it just seems like when they see Tampa Bay come to town, or they go to Tampa Bay in this case, who it ain't who they is who that. They really oh yeah, they are who that. But it is who that because they turn into somebody else and they normally do better. On a side note, before I even say anything football related, thank you, Yankees.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's
9
right.
years, $360 million.
I'm going to put something out in the cooler about that, but what I'm going to say about it right here briefly, it'll be the same thing in the cooler. You'll get to read it tomorrow. But Aaron Judge bet on himself.
He did.
So the Yankees offered him $213 million before the start of last season. He said, no, thank you. I declined that offer. Went out and played and had a career year in which I think the San Diego Padres offered him $400 million.
Yes.
And the Giants offered him $340 million.
Yeah.
Meaning the Yankees had to offer him somewhere in the ballpark of $360 million.
But so he took a discount from the Padres just to stay in New York.
Right. So by betting on himself, he earned himself a cool extra $150 million. So how this ties into tonight's show, Lamar Jackson, you need to hire Aaron Judge as your agent.
You need to hire anybody as your agent instead of it just being you. Hell, at this point, I don't care if you sit there and get an inanimate object. You need something to be your agent instead of just you, because that's a bunch of craziness, and I don't think it's going to work out for you in the long run. Anthony Price Judge did that to make New York match it, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We're going to talk about, Odell Beckham Jr. is going around touring different teams. Lamar lose that deal. Lamar lost that deal, you mean? Okay, I'll go ahead and get into Lamar then. As I said last week, and you saw Tyler Huntley, you saw Lamar get hurt, which the way he plays, he's more susceptible to getting hurt. But the reason that the Ravens have not felt a lot of pressure is what you saw, that Tyler Huntley, without the jersey on, looks a lot like Lamar Jackson. Now, is he as explosive and everything else? No, but can he play in that same kind of style? Meaning, because you got to remember, the Ravens built their team around the way Lamar Jackson plays.
That's correct.
So bringing in a quarterback that's antithetical to that would not help them in the event that he gets hurt. So, of course, any smart organization would say, hey, our backup needs, and the other reason is they need to be able to run the offense. If Lamar can't go on a certain day during practice and stuff like that, you need the backup to be able to work with the first team and not miss a beat, because that first team is used to playing with Lamar's skill set. So
you are so on point with that, Brian. I'm going to interrupt you for a quick second just to throw in what somebody asked me today.
Yeah.
Why didn't the Ravens pick up Baker Mayfield?
Oh, somebody asked you that?
That would have been an absolute disaster for reasons that you're talking about. For reasons that you're talking about.
It didn't have JK, LOL, and all that behind it.
No.
It was a serious question.
Yes.
I don't know if I could have been able to type it out. I don't know if I've been laughing, crying, or both, farting on myself and saying I just would have been losing it. If somebody would have asked me that. Baker Mayfield, and why? Because when Baker would run in Baltimore, it would be because he had to.
And he wouldn't get anywhere. He wouldn't get
nowhere. He probably lose 5 yards trying to run. Oh my gosh.
And these are the same reasons that San Francisco passed on Baker as well, because San Francisco has a run-first offense with the option of a mobile quarterback, which Baker is far from.
Far from it. And again, Jimmy G can stand in the pocket and deliver passes across the middle. Where Baker tries to do that, his passes are going to get batted down. Just because of the way he throws. He doesn't put a lot of arc on the ball. So a lot of his passes are very straightforward. And now in the day and age when you have 6'6", 7 foot linemen that can come out of their stance and swat balls, and the name of the game now with swatting balls, it used to be swat down. Now a lot of them swat up to give themselves opportunities to not only deflect the ball, but potentially pick it off. And a lot of people in fantasy world love that when defenses can score touchdowns. Boy, that can sometimes be the difference between whether you win your fantasy league that week or not. But the defense had a touchdown. What? That kind of thing. So, and Anthony says Baker might start tomorrow. That is the plan. Apparently, they FedExed him over the playbook. So by the time he touched down for LA, since LA did pick him up off of waivers, but listen, even if he starts tomorrow, if I were Baker, I don't know if I would play anymore this year, because how much bad tape is already out there of you? If you go out to LA and you stink it up, because you wouldn't, if this was earlier in the year, I'd say, yeah, go ahead, because you got a chance to learn the offense, get acclimated with the players, develop some type of chemistry and everything like that. You're coming in cold. You don't know the players don't know you. You don't have all of the complement of players that you normally would have. You don't have Kupp, you don't have Jefferson. The game was terrible with Stafford in there. Nobody was protecting Stafford worth a damn. Baker is one of those guys that needs everything to be right to have any amount of success. And that is not what he is walking into. This is going to be the Titanic going down. And he's going to go down with it. And the problem is he already got 7 games worth of bad tape with the Panthers. Now he's going to have a bunch of bad tape with the Rams. Who in the world is going to want to put him in a position to be a starter next year?
I'll say this about Baker. I heard an astonishing stat today about Baker Mayfield.
Oh, I did too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was it the QBR?
Yes, the QBR.
Was it out of 522 eligible QBR players, he's number 520?
520. And as far as starting quarterbacks, the only starting quarterback since the history of the QBR was implemented that's been worse percentage-wise than Baker is our own Jimmy Clausen.
Correct.
That is absolutely mind-blowing.
I mean, at that point, the B word is warranted, is it not?
Yeah.
Isn't he busted?
I mean, he has to be busted.
I If there's been 522 players that have qualified for QBR rankings, and you're damn near dead last out of 522, and you were a number one pick, yeah, I think you're a bust.
Bust, man.
I mean, yeah. You think Baker staying in LA to back up Stafford? Hell no. I can come back up Stafford. I actually heard where they were thinking about trying to talk Drew Brees out of retirement. But that may have been for San Fran. But still, the fact that Drew Brees' name came up for either one of those instead of Baker Mayfield first is so laughable, because Drew Brees has the same issue. He's a short quarterback, but Drew always put a lot of arc on his balls. He didn't get a lot of balls batted.
No.
Surprisingly so, to be such a short quarterback. I'd see him throwing his tiptoes and everything else to get enough touch on that ball, but he rarely got his balls batted down. But with Baker, I mean, and you know who I really feel for when Baker's the quarterback? The cameraman. Because the cameraman's expecting when Baker threw the ball, it's actually going to go down the field. Then he got to jerk it right back because it's still right in front of Baker. And you're like, oh, man. Because you're like, what happened? Oh, the ball got batted. So the cameraman now, when Baker's the quarterback, they have to know, keep an eye on that ball because it may not really go down the field.
That's too funny.
Really? But it's so funny. Every time he does it, I'm going, wait a minute, what just happened? Oh, it got batted down.
Again.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The cameraman can't keep up. You ain't paying the cameraman to sit there and make no quick, sudden changes like that. He's supposed to flow with it. That's the presentation of the game. He's supposed to be able to flow. You can't flow with Baker because you don't know where the hell the ball gonna go.
Yeah. I also thought it was just so funny. I saw so many people predicting that Baker was going to go to San Francisco just naturally because of the injury to Jimmy G, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm sure McCaffrey said, no, he did Robbie Anderson.
Yeah.
No.
San Fran.
He said, I changed 4 time zones to get away from that dude.
San Fran went out and got Josh Johnson and said, thank you, but no thank you.
Hey,
Kyle
Shanahan said, hey, Baker got to Carolina. Next thing I know, the coach got fired. Baker was in Cleveland and went through about 3 coaches there. Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, we good over here, man.
You know, Odell Beckham looked like he was done in Cleveland, comes back to the Rams, and all of a sudden we realize Odell's got a lot left in the tank. What's the common denominator? They were around Baker.
Yeah.
You know,
a
lot of times I watch Skip and Shannon, and it's just so funny to watch Skip go through painstaking pretzels to try to defend Baker Mayfield or attach Baker Mayfield's career to Sam Darnold's career, which I don't understand why one has anything to do with the other. Both of them are equally as bad, but Sam still got a job. So, you know, Josh Johnson is 5 times better than Baker. My mother is 3 times better than Baker. I mean, in other world news, water is still wet. I mean, I'm just saying.
Hey, I could get over the offensive line.
Look, I think you could go out there and get a better QBR than Baker. It ain't like you got to do a lot to do it. I mean, getting past a 13 or 15 QBR don't sound like it would be terribly hard to do.
Now, I can go out there and throw about 3 screen passes, and I already be sick.
That's what I'm about to say. Exactly. A couple of screen passes, bubble passes, check down to the running back, and you good for the game. Hell, you could be 6 for 6, end up with a better QBR than Baker done had. So, you know, I don't know, man. He's trash. He's straight garbage. You know, I hate to see that the Rams sat there and went from Super Bowl to who done it and all that kind of stuff. They got their ring and everything, and that's good. But to see themselves, I'm sorry, my phone's not charging. But to see themselves in the position that they're in is truly sad, because it is hard to repeat. But to go from a team that won the Super Bowl to one that's not going to even make the playoffs, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow for anybody.
Boy, them Super Bowl windows are shallow as hell sometimes.
Exactly. That's why a lot of teams, if that does show you one thing, is that when you're close, you got to push all your chips into the middle of the table and go for it, because one minute you can be the Super Bowl darlings and the favorites, and the next minute you're at the point of irrelevance and anonymity. So you have to make sure that you capitalize on those moments and not fall into that lull of, we're going to be like the Patriots, we're going to be a dynasty, we're going to do this over and over again. Kansas City fell into that lull, I think, a little bit too, where they just were under the assumption that we just going to come out of the AFC West every year. And, there's a lot of teams that got something to say about that. So, and a lot of times too, let's keep it real. A lot of these things come down to, hey, Wes Davidson, how you doing, sir? A lot of these things really come down to sometimes just the way the ball bounce, a little bit of luck, a field goal that goes in, field goal that banks off a crossbar. It can be a lot of different things that really push you into going to the Super Bowl. Think about it. Cincinnati last year barely escaped Tennessee. Had Ryan Tannehill played a little bit better of a game, Cincinnati wouldn't have even been in the Super Bowl to begin with. So it's that late game interception that goes your way and that kind of stuff that can get you in there. And that doesn't mean that you put yourself in a position to have that opportunity, for sure. But those windows are very tight. So if you are very, very close and you're that one free agent away, you're that Von Miller away, you're that OBJ away, and you got to push your chips in the middle, then by all means, go ahead. Speaking of which, them Dallas Cowgirls met with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jerry Jones seems to be trying to pour a little cold water on it, saying that they don't think that OBJ's knee is going to help him out this year, Rand, and that he would be more likely to help a team next year, but their focus, they're trying to go all in on this year because of the way that they're playing.
Yeah, I heard the same. And I have my doubts anyway that he would be back. And even if he was to come back, be back to form. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
ACL injury. I mean, it's tough, man. It's kind of like them ankles that I've gone on about. Sometimes them ankle injuries end up just ending careers. Like, look at AC Green. What happened with him?
Yeah, look at Chris Godwin.
Godwin too.
He's not the Godwin that we all know and love yet. I believe next year he will be. Right. Look at what happened with Saquon Barkley. Saquon went through a whole year after coming back from his high ankle, and he didn't look like the same guy. Now, all of a sudden, this year is back to Saquon. And you're like, okay, there he is.
So it takes a long time.
It's that following season where you go through a whole summer camp and everything like that. And when you come out, you're good. But just kind of coming back mid-season and stuff like that, I don't care how much you've been working out. It's kind of like the same thing I see with Deshaun Watson, who was out for a non-football related injury. I will say his other injuries was just because he, kept getting rubbed too much. But, but same thing with him. He's got these games coming up for him is more like going to be his preseason. Even though he did get to play sparingly in the preseason, he hadn't gotten to take a lot of reps with the first team and develop chemistry and stuff like that. So he's going to have to lean on his rushing game, and like he did this past week, his defense and special teams to really pick up a lot of slack. So he's not going to be that guy. So there's a lot of guys trying to come back, that when you come back from an injury or being out for an extended amount of time, there's no cheat code to that. You're going to have to work your way into it.
Yeah, I thought it was also funny. Somebody else, I think it was in the cooler too, had actually, said something to the array of thinking that Deshaun Watson was just going to come out here and start slinging the ball, get a 300-yard game. That is not going to happen.
If you think that, you don't know a damn thing about football.
That is not going to happen.
I mean, who literally takes 700 days off from doing their job and can step back in on day one and act like ain't nothing ever happened? The only thing close to that I saw, and if you remember, it didn't last that long after that, when Dak Prescott came back from his injury, the first game against Tampa and threw 400 and something yards and almost beat Brady, I'm going, this dude know he got hurt, right? But then the rest of the season, he came back to reality. Let's see. Wes says he can't play football if he can't make it through a flight at the airport. That's wrong. That's funny. Yeah. Well, we get them private planes. I mean, Anthony says it's like OBJ will be good to a team in the playoffs.
Maybe. Well,
he still needs to be able to work with the quarterback and get some kind of chemistry,
right,
and things like that. I mean, timing. The quarterback wide receiver relationship is all about timing, because it's a lot of times a quarterback really worth their weight in gold isn't one that's waiting for a receiver to necessarily get open. If I'm a good enough quarterback, I throw them open.
That's right.
A lot of because the one thing that you don't want to do is make a receiver have to stop and come back to a ball because you underthrew it. You want them to catch it in some kind of stride so they can get a lot of that yards after catch and stuff like that. And Ryan Young says Rams go off with Baker. 100%.
Yeah, they're gonna go off the deep end. That's what
now, if you said they're gonna go off on Baker, you might be on to something, Ryan. And welcome to the show, by the way. We take all opinions, crazy ones too. But then you may be proven right, and then you'll send me a note in the cooler and be like, "See, I told you."
Yeah, for this, Ryan was nominated for one of the awards I was giving out. I think he was nominated for the comedy award. So now we're seeing why.
Okay. Now I get it. And Ryan also says if Stafford isn't there next season, I think Baker is the starter next season. I'm playing with you. Okay. Listen. I will take it. Let me take it a step further. If Baker is the starter next season, Sean McVay won't last the whole season. He will be promptly asked to leave. Yeah, he'll probably go to Nebraska too. So, yeah, there's no way. And Wes says, "Wow, that's still a fresh L for me, Randall." There's just no way. There is no way. Even if Matthew Stafford isn't there next year, which I don't see why he wouldn't be. Actually, I'm glad that he's shutting down, because he really needs to recover from that shoulder that I still think wasn't right, even from training camp. Wes says, "I'll never emotionally recover from that loss." Now, which loss are we talking about?
Which loss, Wes? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know, Wes. The loss you're talking about. But yeah, it was a crazy week in the NFL. The Patriots played the Bills. Of course, they lost 24-7. The Bills let them stay close for a minute. Oh, of that comedy award.
Oh, next year, my friend. Next year.
Yeah, you'll get it. You keep on going. You're on the right path. Cooler Comedy Award. Yes, that was a good award. And let's see, the Packers played the Bears. The Bears were actually winning that game. And then Aaron Bleeping Rodgers kind of came in at the last minute, ran and did what he does, which is continue to own the Bears, regardless of how bad his team has played. It's just one of those. It kind of reminds me of the Tampa Saints game. It doesn't matter how bad the Packers are. When they play the Bears, they still own them.
Yeah, I'd actually pick Chicago for this game just because of how bad that Green Bay has been offensively. And they ain't got no receivers, and all of a sudden.
Right. They've been dead, man.
They've been dead.
But it's like they woke out of that coma. What, Chicago?
Oh, hell no.
No, they were like, we playing the Bears? Oh, hell yeah. Let's do it, baby.
Let's do it.
Let's play the Bears, baby. And then, of course, they're going to go back to, tuck them right back in bed and going back to sleep. Anthony says, I think the Ravens won't make the playoffs.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, because then that means that the wheels fell off, and that gives Pittsburgh a chance. Oh, God. And as we alluded to, the Steelers played the Falcons. That was a That was an interesting game. Kenny Pickett, 16 for 28, 197 yards, a touchdown. Again, no interceptions. Second game in a row where he didn't have any picks, I believe.
Yes.
Had a couple of guys running the ball. He ran it himself 7 times just to kind of keep the chains moving. He only had 14 yards off of it. Najee Harris did most of the damage. He did go out with his knee, didn't he not?
Foot.
Oh, his foot. So he had 17 carries for 86 yards, which is not bad when you look at the per carry. It's 5.1. So, but he's going to be okay, right? Not
yeah, he'll be okay. And by all means, I'm not going to come on here and brag and celebrate about a win against the Atlanta Falcons, but I mean, hey, it is kind of big, man. Kenny Pickett.
I've seen the Falcons have been a lot more competitive in games,
right?
And people give them credit for it. Their record doesn't always reflect that, but that ain't an easy win sometimes. So,
yeah,
I would take to the bragging. Ryan says, gonna check back in on the recording once it's available, boys. Thank you both for everything you do for the Cooler. By far my favorite group I've been a part of. Absolutely, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, but he threw to like at least 10 receivers. So that was good for Kenny Pickett. Falcons need a new quarterback. The Falcons have needed a new quarterback probably for the last 8 years. If you've seen the way Matt Ryan played the other day. Yeah, and you can see Atlanta didn't do anything to try to hold him. They said, hey, it's time. Once Julio left, even before that, it was time. Even when they decided to let Julio go, arguably it could have been said, you know what, we need to just go ahead and start rebuilding now. They held on to Matty Ice a little bit longer than they should have. And then Indy is getting just a shell of him right now. So I totally agree with you. They definitely need a new quarterback, but they just need a new direction. They just need to accept the fact that they're going to have to rebuild their way. Right. You're going to have to identify some young talent and go after that and stop getting a bunch of washed up has-been guys that are journeymen at best that may provide that bridge for you. If Mariota got there and they do have a guy in waiting that they may end up turning to. So we'll see how that goes since basically their season is basically done. Now you need to throw the young guys in there to really see what they can do because you're not really playing for any playoff implications anymore. So there's really no reason to just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. I believe there's a word for that, but yeah. So I think they're gonna turn to their young guy at the helm to really see what kind of a spark or what they have, what they don't have, that kind of thing. I kind of think, also Rand, even though Aaron Rodgers wanted to play the Bears and everything, they're not going to win the NFC North at all. And not winning the NFC North this year, you can be the second place team and you're not going to make the playoffs.
No, they're too far behind, man.
I understand they're paying them $50 million a year, but I just can't understand why you wouldn't pull him and put in Jordan Love.
He would be a complete distraction in the same vein that like Brett Favre was.
Yeah,
he really would.
That's a good point.
He would cry, he would whine, he would upset the locker room. He would.
Yeah, and you know what? Not only that, but Jordan Love would have to look over his shoulder every time he made a bad play.
Yep, because he would not be receptive to trying to help Jordan Love in any way, shape, or form. He's already said that anyway.
Yeah, that's true. And but what I found very interesting this week, Matt LaFleur went as far as to say, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have Aaron back next year."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's just the amount of control that he has over that organization. He could say what he wants. He could pretty much do what he wants.
Is he a Jedi? I mean, does he really go, "You'll be glad to have me back next year," and they go, "I'll be glad to have you back next year"?
Pretty much. He is the lone star in Green Bay. They ain't got no NBA team. They ain't got no.
I mean, are they literally just going to bury him in Lambeau Field? Like, we just gonna play him till the wheels completely fall off. Is this gonna be Big Ben 2.0?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
He will play as long as he wants to play. And
so the only person that's capable of pulling Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
I think so.
That's crazy.
And by the time that he's done playing in Green Bay, they might rename the stadium.
But see, the crazy thing is this: once he finally leaves, you will have nothing because you will have banked so much on him.
Yeah.
They have to play Love. Ain't he up for a new deal? Yes. I'm not paying nobody who haven't played in the game for years. Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear you, Anthony, but think about the Ravens. Aside from Lamar Jackson getting hurt, their best insurance policy is Tyler Huntley. And they're going to keep paying him just because, hell, the Panthers paid, what's his name for all them years backing up Cam Newton.
Derek Anderson.
DA, yeah. They paid him all them years like that, just as an insurance policy. You will pay him if he's a good enough backup, because as you've seen in this day and age, when the starter goes down, if you don't have a capable backup, your season can be derailed very quickly. The only thing that's keeping the Ravens actually afloat right now is the fact that they do have a solid number two that can come in and perform admirably, where they're not having to scale down the playbook, so to speak, just to get him into the game. When a lot of times when you bring in a backup, a lot of times you're having to not call as many scripted plays. Most teams start out with a handful of scripted plays at the beginning of a game, and sometimes when they come out of the locker room after halftime, they already have a bunch of scripted plays. When you have a backup, a lot of times you have to reduce those amount of plays because you got to find the plays that backup is really comfortable with running and executing because it's timing. Lamar gets hurt more than Rodgers. Watch, they tag Lamar and Huntley are going to start next year. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, you're right about that. If they're smart, Lamar going to come in there saying, all right, boys, how much guaranteed that y'all ready to do this time? And they're going to say, about 240. I'm sorry, about 140, 160. And he's going to say, nah, I want it all. I want it all guaranteed. And they're going to say, all right, then we'll go ahead and sign this right here. What's this? This is your franchise tag tender. And he's going to be like, nah, I'm not going to sign that. I'm going to hold out. Okay, then. Well, hey, Huntley, you working with the first team for the foreseeable future.
That's pretty much how it's going to go down. Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Yep.
That's going to be that was a head-to-head behind the scenes exclusive. Anyway, I like that exclusive. That's how it works. I mean, he's really going to dig his heels in and want that guaranteed money. He's still going to be. He got people in his ear saying, "You see how Deshaun Watson playing?
Mm-hmm.
They gave that bum $250 guaranteed. I know you want $275, right? You got MVP. You don't want more playoff games. This organization can't do this without you, baby. Yeah, you're right. I need that $275 fully guaranteed. Man, you out your rabbit mind. Ain't nobody getting, $260 million fully guaranteed.
Hell no.
Especially when Tyler Huntley can, even if he can't get us to the Super Bowl, hell, ain't no guarantee Lamar can neither.
No. Because in the playoffs, he's pretty much flamed out every single time.
Exactly. He is a good 17-week quarterback during the regular season. It reminds me of them NBA teams that used to sit there and win 50, 60, 70 games in the regular season, get to the playoffs, and can't get out of the divisional or the conference finals. He's that guy, because a lot of times that play does not translate into the playoffs. It leans more on defense. Who's in Lamar's ears? The only person is his mother, and she's the real manager. Well, she's the one representing him, but he's a young guy. I know he's got friends and family that chime in and, throw them little boosters out there. Yeah, you the man, man. Man, ain't nobody better than you, man. Hey, man, you see what they did with that Watson dude? Man, all he do say, he got more massage therapists than wins, which is probably true, I think. But hey, Wes, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna start my sports comedy too. I'm getting that award next year, damn it. But yeah, I mean, so he's got people gassing him. No mistake about that. Yes, it's him and his moms that are actually meeting with the Ravens on a regular basis. But I'm sure he's obviously not insulated, because if somebody makes a comment on Twitter, he's right there. It wasn't his mama that responded with a vulgarity. That was him. So he does have his ear to people, good and bad. Can you look that up? You might be right.
I'm gonna just take a guess and say you are right.
But I really think so. I'm thinking about it. It's actually pretty funny because that's true.
Yeah.
But and if it ain't, it's pretty damn close. I'll take it. But anywho's, yeah, he's kind of taking his own advice. It's kind of like that saying about trying to be your own lawyer and stuff like that. I feel the same way about an agent. I know that a lot of times people say, why should I give this person extra money and this and that and the other? I just keep it for myself. There's reasons behind that. I get the whole point of, the best person to represent me is myself. No, because sometimes you're going to be a little bit more biased about yourself, and you need somebody to kind of be that North Star to really protect you from yourself and a lot of things that you may lean into. And that's what you're paying for. It's not somebody basically saying, I know more than you. I could get this done and you couldn't get it done, and that kind of thing. We all need different roles defined in our daily lives. When you're making a certain amount of money, Lamar, I hope you didn't expand this to your accounting. I hope you hired an accountant and not go, why should I pay you this? I've been balancing my checkbook for years. You got a lot more extra zeros now, so you need somebody to manage your affairs that way. So there's just parts of your life that changes when you start making a certain amount of money that, hey, do I need an agent? Do I need a representative and those kind of things? Yes, you most certainly do. And if you are an athlete or somebody that's in the entertainment industry or anything like that, at some point in time, I would definitely recommend you get you a competent agent that knows the industry, the ins and the outs, the backroom things that happen and things like that, so you can focus on your craft. And that's the thing with Lamar. Now, he's done an outstanding job this year of trying to dilute a lot of that noise, focus on his craft, and he's played definitely pretty well up to this point. Nobody's questioning the guy's potential and what he can do. But you're trying to basically tell an organization, I'm going to hamstring you for the next 8 to 10 years with this salary. And they're like, no, we can't do that. We can't. Rand, there's no way they can. There ain't no way. You pay this man 250, 260 guaranteed.
You'd be insane to do that, because just the method that he plays. I mean, he runs like a running back. You might as well give that money, try to guarantee that money to a running back, because it's the same principle. He
Correct.
Does throw, but I mean, he gets injured as often as a running back gets injured. So that guaranteed money, as a team and organization, you're going to be on the losing end of that.
Was that Joe Lowry? Not Mike Lowry, Joe Lowry. But no, you're right, because, the thing that kills me about people is they think that you can't look at past things to predict future things. What has the past shown you about the longevity of running quarterbacks in the NFL? And what has that history done to make you feel anywhere near comfortable offering a quarterback, I don't care if he's in his first year or if he's in his fifth year, a fully guaranteed contract?
It's crazy.
What has history shown you to make you think that would be a reasonable decision? I would just tell him, deuces. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. What would make you think that a 35, 36-year-old quarterback needs to be paid $50 million a year?
I'd have told him deuces too.
His skills are not, he's not going to bounce back and get better. When Adrian Peterson got hurt, he was never AP anymore, or AD, like they used to call him all day. He wasn't all day. Hell, he couldn't even get you a whole quarter half the time. He was a jag. He was just a guy after that. You could put him in a rotation of 3 running backs and maybe peel one off for 10, 11, 12 yards every now and then or something like that. But he wasn't that explosive guy that seemingly would get stuffed in the middle and then all of a sudden just bust out and just start running down the field.
Nah, those days were over.
Those days were long gone after that. So, and he played well past that. But those big money days were also well behind him too. You can't cut Rodgers, I don't think, because of the cap hit. I think you can, only because I think, Rand, it's only a 1-year deal because they were going year to year with him. Is that right?
I have to look that back up again. I don't even remember.
I think he pushed them to tear up the old contract and turn his contracts into year by year, so he would have more control over where he goes. So if he says I'm out, they can't really do anything. I think he's an unrestricted free agent after this year.
I can't believe how this organization kisses his ass. I didn't even know that part of it. It's just unbelievable how they have bent over to kiss this guy's ass for one Super Bowl. Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, he got you a Super Bowl, but you really, in theory, should have about 2 more.
Exactly. Joe Lowry said, well, speaking about Adrian Peterson, well, he did rush for 2,000 after that first big injury, or so I thought. He did. But I could, he said, but I get your point still. I would argue that doing that after that probably shortened his career, because for a running back to run for 2,000 yards, that's a lot of carries, but there's also a lot of hits. And Father Time, as I always like to say, and has been said by others, is still undefeated. At some point, them hits, Cam Newton, start to take a toll on you. And you're not the same player anymore. He did that. It was record-breaking. It was great to see AD do that. All well and good. But then if you start to look at the steady decline after that, he never got back to that. And that's the same thing with the quarterback. Once they reach their peak, that's why it's called their peak. And then they start declining a little bit, but you can hold on to them because what they may lose athletically, they got a lot more up here. But then even after a while, that's not enough anymore because the game is still going fast and their skills can't keep up with it. And you start to normally see a guy hang on to his quarterback starter position a year or two too late. You can think of people like Montana, Steve Young. You can think of Emmitt Smith. You can think of Adrian Peterson, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees. They get old real quick. 1 minute you like, damn, this dude still got it. Next thing you know, damn, what happened?
Fell off a cliff, didn't he?
Aged right in front of you. Remember when Michael Jordan used to sit there and just dunk it and tongue out and everything? And remember that game he played for the Wizards? And it looked like he was struggling to get up there. And it was almost like, it almost broke my heart because it was like, this is not the dude that I used to root for at UNC and Chicago and stuff like that. And it was just kind of bad to see him damn near miss a dunk because he just could not elevate anymore. This is the same dude that jumped from the free throw line damn near. And it looked like he almost needed a hand to get up to the rim. Joe says Cam's was that hit to the shoulder from Watto. He was balling prior to that. That is true. He was actually throwing well, which was a step in the right direction. And that was in the pocket. And he said that was 40 Mike. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, all of that's true. You start going downhill really, really quickly and stuff like that. And I mean, as somebody that's only 36, I look forward to being 40 one day. No, I'm just kidding. But things start slipping. I'm really going for that comedy there. But
Yeah.
things do start slipping a lot more, Rand, at that point. So, we'll see how that goes.
I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty interesting how some of these quarterback situations are going to play themselves out over the course of the offseason. The Ravens situation is one of them. How is that going to play out? And I'm also wanting to see how the situation is going to play out with Carson Wentz and Heineke. How is that going to translate for the Commanders?
It should translate to Carson going to Publix and getting a job. Bagging groceries.
Yo, you on your way to this award for real, bro.
Yeah. Him and Baker Mayfield, Wentz is trash. Yes, Wentz is trash. So, Joe, that actually might even be a better job for him, working for the sanitation department. Because who knows garbage better than garbage?
Oh man, y'all killing me. So here's another situation that I was gonna say before y'all crack me the hell up. The Mike White versus Zach Wilson situation. Mike White. Mike who?
Look. I'm gonna tell you. He said head of sanitation. Boy, you ain't never lied. He said, Ron, I tell Easy Wentz will be traded back to the Colts or Falcons. If you talking about coaching the Falcons Pop Warner team, yes. But his days of actually being on the NFL squad should be over. Listen,
bro,
I'm tired of these folks sitting here trying to take Baker, Carson Wentz. Hell, you remember when Ryan Leaf sat there and they tried to do the same thing with him? Listen, you remember Jamarcus Russell?
Yeah.
Who I think may actually be one of Herschel Walker's kids. But anyway, that's just a whole nother thing. But just listen to the way they talk. They kind of sound the same now that I think about it. But you listen, some guys are really, really top of the line college athletes. And we know that their game does not translate to the NFL completely. I even can think of references in the basketball realm the same way. I'm a North Carolina Tar Heel fan. I know a lot of y'all are too. And I can always think about how some of North Carolina's athletes were okay college players, but then they got to the NBA and they blew up, including Jordan, including Worthy, including Sam Perkins, including Vince Carter, including Anton Jameson, including Rasheed Wallace. I could go on and on and on, where their better years were actually in the NBA, not necessarily college. Ed O'Bannon, right? UCLA. What? Remember Ed?
Oh, yeah.
Calling it UCLA? Ed Bannon? Oh my God, yes. Great example. Tyler Hansbrough. Yes. Great college player. Didn't translate to the NBA. Duke had a handful of those guys. Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner was okay. Elton Brand was okay. But they had a lot more guys that you were like, what happened to them? JJ Redick by far had to be the greatest because he played so long. But everybody's game doesn't translate from one stage to the other. Don't necessarily know why. It just doesn't. And football players are the same way. So think about it. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold both got drafted. Same draft. 1 and 2, 1 and 3, something like that.
Yeah. And
they're both in the same position where they're almost on the outside looking in. All of that, Joe said, Zach ain't ready, bro. Mike might have taken that job. I believe so. I think, you know what, Joe, I think the only reason if Zach gets another opportunity is going to be because they feel like they've invested so much into him. And I think at some point you got to be willing to admit that you're wrong. And I think a lot of these executives, which I don't understand, marry themselves to a player that could be the reason for their own damn demise. Why you end up not with a job because you being more loyal to the player than you loyal to winning. Zach might end up trade bait since he was drafted so high. That's very true. And it's kind of the Sam Darnold thing where you basically are going to have to make a decision sooner than later whether to pick up that 5th-year offer with a first-round draft pick, which you don't have that on any other draft picks other than that first-round draft pick. So if you're going to cut him, you got to do it while the value is at its highest. Could he be a decent starter somewhere else? Maybe. if he grows up a little bit. Then Joe also mentioned, like I said, Tyler Hansbrough, Ed O'Bannon. Duke got a decade of them, don't they, though? A decade of guys that Coach K got the most out of them in college, knowing damn well that once they hit the NBA, they would be developmental players in the G League. There were a whole lot of Duke players in the G League. Risa said, I missed an hour.
Risa, what's up, girl?
You did.
Got a lady on the
and you missed the hour, and we're starting later now. We're starting at 7 instead of 8. UNC is only good at basketball and lacrosse. No, sir. Soccer and baseball. Check it out. You know what?
UNC hater here.
You do know what school Mia Hamm went to, right? And I will also say you are right about basketball, but I will put in the caveat: men's and women's. Okay. Now back to the story. Anthony says, "Ain't that what happened to the Titans GM?" Yeah. He didn't believe in AJ Brown, and now he's looking for a job.
Yeah, that's the ultimate revenge right there.
Yeah, it was served really well. AJ got his revenge on them. Boy, they got him good. They really did. The Titans and the Eagles, 35-10. Rand, I don't know about you, but if Jalen Hurts isn't one of the front runners for the MVP, I don't know who is. I mean, this guy went 29-39, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks, right?
Right, man.
He is actually 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's 9th in passing yards in the league at 2,940. But listen to this stat: 20 touchdowns, 3 picks.
He got to be in the MVP talk, man. He's got to be. And I tell you that, just peeking ahead on the schedule, I think I saw that the Eagles play Dallas on Christmas Day.
That is correct.
That is going to be a hell of a game.
It is correct.
That is going to be a hell of a game.
You can go ahead and write me down for the Eagles.
Man, that is one that the NFL schedule makers got right. Now, some of these Thursday night games, like the one we got coming up tomorrow, not so sure about. But the Christmas Day game,
I'm sure that's going to stink. Anthony says, I'm not going to start. I'm quiet. What are you quiet about now? What? Because your Commanders tied with the Giants. I mean, it ain't a loss. It ain't a win, but if Dallas slides in the last side of this, that tie may actually help you. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think Dallas is going to have another hiccup or not. A hiccup. It's Patrick or Tua for MVP. I mean, how is Jalen not in that, though?
He's got to be in the discussion, man. He's got to be.
I mean, I'm looking. Jalen 9, Tua is at 13 in passing yards. Now, Tua's thrown 21 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That's pretty good, too. Yeah, I mean, I don't have my QBR up, but yeah, he's been performing very well, too. So he should be in the conversation, no doubt.
In the conversation.
But what I'm saying is Mahomes definitely should be in the conversation. Tua should be in the conversation. But Jay Hurts should be in that conversation, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, even Josh Allen is 3rd in yards thrown, but he's thrown 11 picks. He's 25-11. They're gonna base it on who they played against. I mean, you play your schedule. He ain't got nothing to do with that.
That's all you can do is play your schedule, man.
And I mean, still, the more you win, the more defenses are stoked to play against you. The more the other teams get up to play you because they're trying to knock you off the top. Think about UNC basketball. You go from being the number 1 team in the country to not even being ranked. But I digress. I ain't gonna go there. I'm feeling some kind of way about these bums right now.
Most valuable player states just what it is. You correct. Take Jalen Hurts off of that team. Are they 10-1 or whatever the record they have right now?
Yes, and here's another good point with that. And it was the same thing said about Tua. Nobody denied. Remember, before the season, everybody said, hey, Philly got something going on. The only thing we worried about is the quarterback. So if you're saying that you needed to see Jalen Hurts perform at a high enough level to get this team to where everybody prognosticated they would be, he's done it. What more does he need to do?
Gotta be in the conversation.
If he played like, I don't know, Baker Mayfield, or Baker Mayfield was their quarterback, would they be 10-1?
Hell no.
Hell no. That's how you know you got. I'm sorry, 11-1. That's how you know would he be the MVP. If you put any other dude back there, would they be 11-1? Would they have a winning record if Baker Mayfield was their quarterback? Hell no.
Nope.
Ain't no way, Rand.
I'm going no on that one all day.
Everybody would start talking like they did about Odell. What's wrong with A.J. Brown? Look like he lost a step.
Can't get the ball.
You start hearing that. Then AJ say, busted, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to another team, then go to another team and ball out. And then you realize it was Baker. Anthony says, look this up for me. Is Hurts stat the same as Lamar when he won the MVP in 2019? That's a great question. Let me see. NFL stats 2019. I will tell you who the passing leader was, but it's at the end of the year. Lamar was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he knew up here. Hold on. I'm scrolling. Lamar, oh my dear God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna imagine these are all 32 quarterbacks. It may be more than that, Rand. Hold on. 3, 5, 7, 10, 13, 16. I'm giving you real time. 19, 20, 21. He was number 22 in yards passing. Josh Allen was right under him, then Daniel Jones, and then Sam Darnold. He had 36 touchdowns for the year and 6 interceptions. Jalen only got 3 so far. So he's on pace, yeah. He finished with 31-27 yards, and Jalen has 29-40. So he's only 200 yards off of where Lamar was passing for the entire year. Now, when it comes to, it doesn't have his rushing on here. I would love to see his rushing yards, because we know that he ran for a lot of yards too. Oh, you know what? I can actually change this to rushing. I don't know why I'm tripping. So when you look at rushing yards amongst rushers, and this is a crazy stat too. Of course, Josh Jacobs is leading the league, but in the top 10, Justin Fields is there, which is crazy. Lamar Jackson is not in the top 10, but he's close to the top. He's ahead of Christian McCaffrey. I'm looking for Hurts. Where is Jalen? Jalen Hurts is a little bit down. He's only got 609 rushing yards. However, he actually has 9 rushing touchdowns. When you look at Lamar, Lamar rushed for, I'm giving you real time 2019. Lamar rushed for only 7 touchdowns. So Jalen's already run for 2 more touchdowns. He's 200 yards shy of what Lamar hit in 2019, albeit in a 16-game season. But Jalen will do it in his 13th game. So he's throwing for more yards. He's running for more touchdowns. He's throwing fewer interceptions. So Anthony says, so how did Lamar win the NFL MVP then? Quite frankly, based on what Rand said earlier,
the team was 14-2. I mean, they would not have got to 14-2 without him. But
and that's the question.
And that's the
Would
question.
this team had the success without this player? Remember, MVP means most valuable player.
Right.
But a lot of times it's the most valuable. Okay, so you look at all the MVPs on everybody's teams, and then you say, okay, who's the MVP out of all of them? And it was Lamar. It was by far Lamar. It was. He did have an MVP season by far. Jalen Hurts is having that season. Also remember, people weren't fully sold on Jalen Hurts. Even when they understood that the Carson Wentz experiment was gone, they really didn't know what they had in Jalen Hurts and if it was really going to work out. Jalen has had to prove himself every single year. I don't know what more he can do. His team is 11-1 in the NFL. 11-1. Yeah, you can say, well, they ain't played nobody. Well, yeah, but you've seen how some of these games end up. You've seen Buffalo lose to, who was it, the Jets? You've seen teams that you thought had it in the bag go in and come out with an L. So you can't always just say, well, they ain't played nobody. Some losses look a whole lot different at the end of the year than they would at the beginning of the year. So, Cincinnati lost some tough games at the beginning of the year. Cincinnati loses some tough games, yet they come back and they beat the Chiefs this past week. So, the league is fluid like that. It's hard to take 1 week from another week, or if this team beat this team, but this team lost to that team, then that means that this team is better than both. It don't mean that. And I've seen people try to draw those straight lines, and those straight lines don't work. There's a lot of things that go into why a team wins 1 week and loses another week. The fact that you're 11-1 tells me one thing: you're being consistent. You're winning. Whether you win by a point, whether it takes the fourth quarter to win, you can't blow everybody out in the first quarter and coast to win the game. Some games are going to come down to the fourth quarter. Some games are going to come down to the last drive. It's just like that. How many of those close games you think Mike Krzyzewski going to get back from his win total? None. They still W's. He going to take every one of them, whether he won by 1 point, whether he won by 30.
I think the thing that you have to keep in mind as well with Lamar Jackson is MVP season, they're 14-2. They make it to the first round of the playoffs and get thrashed by the Tennessee Titans in a game that Jackson didn't play well. You got to keep that in mind as well, man. We'll see what Hurts does in the playoffs, but I just have a hunch he's going to be a little bit better than Lamar was.
I agree, because already right now he's a more proficient passer.
Right.
And what Brian said, Brian, thank you for the sincere respect. Thank you for absolutely. And he also said that Fields this year feels a lot like Hurts' trajectory, but with a worse team. Almost. I think Fields has a little bit more decision making to sharpen up on, but definitely you can see the talent is there. William Ben Rose, what's going on, sir?
Mr. Rose, what's happening, man?
Thanks for stopping through. No, I agree. I agree. I think if he was on a better team, that may actually help him. But you got to remember, Jalen Hurts being on that team is the reason that they're able to do a lot of things. Even from the run, he enhances the rushing game because he's a rushing threat. But you also got Miles Sanders. You got Kenneth Gainwell. You got Boston Scott back there. You got guys that can run, but then you got a quarterback that can pull it from their belly and take off. Well, what does that do? That improves the rushing game, because now you can't just stack 10, 11, 12 in the box anymore. 12 in the box, there's too many men on field. You can't put 10 and 11 in the box, because if you do, Hurts can sit there and pull the ball and sprint to one of the sides, and your backs can't catch him. So he enhances that game. Plus, he's also delivering on time to his tight ends and to his wide receivers too. So he helps the passing game. He helps the running game. He's being everything he can. Hell, the only thing he ain't doing is holding the ball for the kicker. So
I've only watched a couple of full games with Hurts playing. One to my my dissatisfaction, when he absolutely roasted my Pittsburgh Steelers secondary on to a 35-13 victory or whatever.
It looked
the
like a
hell it
video
was.
game. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but yeah, man, he was absolutely the reason why they beat us.
Oh, to be clear, Fields is closer to Hurts from last year, not this year. Got you. Absolutely. Anthony says Chargers, LOL, they are a different team every week. Yes, they are. And you know what? For them, it's really all based on matchups with them. You know, Justin Herbert doesn't forget how to play football from one week to the next. 1 week he does, next week he doesn't. It's really about the matchups and stuff like that. The Chargers have a consistency issue, and you're right; they go up and down a lot. Their season has been plagued with that.
Yeah, they've had a lot of receivers in and out of that lineup. Keenan
Mhm.
Allen's been hurt most of the year with a hamstring injury. They just
Correct.
now got him back. You know, once you miss like 6 and 7 weeks with that, your consistency and timing goes bad between quarterback and wide receiver. So they're just now getting back on the same path. I think the Chargers will be all right for the rest of the year. And
Yeah,
make a
they're
playoff.
6-6 right now. Herbert had a really good game, ran 28 of 47. He threw the ball 47 times, 335 yards, only managed a touchdown out of that, though.
Right.
Which was a crazy thing. Keenan Allen got that touchdown. That was crazy. The Raiders actually won the game. Now, you're talking about a team that's been up and down. That has definitely been the Raiders. I don't know if Josh McDaniels makes it out to end of the season. He really shouldn't.
He should not.
They should have let him go already, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I think that they didn't like the optics of it because it would have been 2 years where they've had to replace a coach. And they really, honestly, if you ask me, they didn't have to replace the coach last year. They just went for a sexy name. They thought that name was going to account for some wins. But the coach that they had previously after Gruden got into his mess actually did a better job rallying those guys and getting them focused and stuff. But hey,
some guys are coordinators and not coaches. Josh McDaniels is one of those dudes.
Yeah, and Matt Patricia. Yeah, I was thinking. I know it's a girl's name. Matt Patricia. Same way. You got rid of Jim Caldwell in Detroit. Thought Matt Patricia was going to do something better than Jim Caldwell. You need to call Jim Caldwell, because he had an answer for Detroit apparently. But Derek Carr, 16 of 30, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But of course, the crazy stat was Davante Adams, 8 receptions for 177 yards. He just has total tunnel vision. 22 yards to carry, 2 touchdowns, 177 yards.
Yeah. They're getting ready to get Darren Waller back, I do believe. So that'll make them a little better as well. So
I hope so, because every time Waller comes back, though, it's very underwhelming. Like he just doesn't. It's like Carr doesn't see him. And normally, for a lot of quarterbacks that are trying to get the ball out quickly, a tight end can be a very, very, very valuable weapon out there.
Yeah. Waller doesn't really line up close to the line of scrimmage, though. He's a lot of times split out like a third wide receiver. So
right, they do run a lot of split sets with him as far as putting him, but they try to still run him more in the slot. So even if he starts out that way instead of being right up on the line, then that just so is he not getting enough separation? Is he not creating enough space? Or is Derek Carr just looking straight down the field for Davante?
I think there's a lot of that going on. Trying to find his homeboy hookup.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. Of course, right now, Tyreek Hill is leading the league in receiving yards, followed by Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Austin Eckler, and then Davante Adams, and then Travis Kelce. Anthony says that Waller is the type of person who played hard for the money and then fell off. I knew somebody was going to say that. Say he got his bag and now he's chilling. Basically, that's what he's saying. And Ryan says Carr isn't looking for him. It's all Tay in his eyes. Same issue Packers have had with Tay when there were issues in the playoffs. Same issues Ram had with Stafford and Kupp. Now
Oh
that's
my God, man. Yes.
that's
Jesus.
true. I mean, Cup would have like 22 receptions. I mean, 22 targets, 18 receptions. And it'd be like, was there any other receiver on the field?
Yeah, the other receivers are standing around with ice on their hands, like, what
Right. Like,
the hell, man?
hell, if I was gonna do this much running and not catch a ball, I might as well be a defensive back. I told you I'm going for this comedy award. I'm gonna get it after this show. But yeah, I mean, nobody does that much running and can't catch a ball more than the defensive back. Will say. But no, you're right. That tunnel vision is crazy. And you're right. And you're right. Oh my God, Aaron Rodgers acted like Devontae Adams was the only player on the field, and would throw in double coverage, triple coverage. And the crazy part was, more times than not, Devontae would come down with the ball. Ryan says everyone else might as well block for Tay, no routes needed. You ain't lying. Or basically do like a trip and put him isolated on one side, stack the other three receivers on the other side, and the other three is including the tight end. Run any cross routes and stuff like that, but just stay away from Devontae. Force the defense to decide if they're going to keep a corner, nickel, or whatever on him, and then play a high safety. And basically, if you do that, then it would open up the field on the other side to one of the other guys. I would run that all day, as long as Carr knew to go through his reads. Carr goes through his reads like this. Bro, did you even check the other reads? What other reads?
Yeah. I don't know which situation is worse, Carr to Devontae or Stafford to Cup. I never saw anything more ridiculous than Stafford to Cup. The other receivers on the Rams, they ain't even running patterns no more. They just
why would
standing
you run
around
hard?
watching.
I mean, it was almost like when you watch the Panthers. McCaffrey left, McCaffrey right, McCaffrey catches the ball out of the backfield. If I'm DJ Moore, I'm like, you really think I'm going to go full speed out here?
Right.
To do what? So yeah, that's craziness. That's craziness. I would have to block for Tay too, because everybody knows he's getting the ball. The problem is nobody can stop him right now. Anthony says, I never seen Matt Ryan last game. I never seen Matt Ryan last game. That man was playing for the Cowboys.
He might as well have been.
Okay, so let me get into the Cowboys before we run out of time, because Lord knows that the reason that I became an Eagles fan is because the Cowboy fans were so obnoxious, and it was because every time they won a game, it was we're going to the Super Bowl, and I'm like, look, it's one game. Temper, calm down, y'all guys. Get yourselves hyped up every single year, and then reality comes. Normally, it would have come by now. Normally, you're already out of it. There is a little bit more suspense. Now, are you going to win the division? Probably not. The Eagles would have to damn near lose every game the rest of the year. There's 5 games left. You're not going to win the division, because if I'm looking at it correctly, the Eagles are 11-1 ran, and the Cowboys are 9-3. So yeah, basically the Eagles would have to really lose at a faster pace than the Cowboys for the Cowboys to have a chance to win the division. Plus, the Cowboys would also have to win against the Eagles head to head, as the Eagles have already beat the Cowboys once. Ryan says there was a running joke. They had other cup colored receivers on the Rams to distract the defense. Huh? There was a running joke. They had other cup colored receivers on the Ram. Oh, so they wouldn't know which Ram was Cup, because they was all white boys with blonde hair. Oh, the white boys. Yeah, Ryan got it. Yeah, I got it out there. I read it two times. Oh, the white boys. So they wouldn't know which one is really Cooper Kupp. That's a good one. I like it. I had to think about it, but I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, so but back to Cowboys. Cowboy fans, unless Philly does something totally different than what they've been doing all year, you're not going to win the division. Right now, you're the 5th seed in the NFC. And that is still contingent on other teams really not doing anything. And I will admit, and the ones that they really need to worry about are going to be surprisingly Seattle. The 49ers still may have something to say about that. 49ers are going to win the division more than likely. But the Seahawks have something to say about that. If you sit there and slip up just a little bit, the Giants and Commanders are only 2 games out from being with you. That ain't a lot because you got to play them. So they can make up half a game, ran just like that by playing them. I'm not saying that the Giants or the Commanders are in any position to beat the Cowboys. I'm definitely not saying that. And it looks like in the NFC North, whether it's the Lions, Packers, or Bears, they don't really have enough games left to really do anything with the Cowboys, neither with the Falcons, the Panthers, or the Saints. So it is probably a good chance that the Cowboys make the playoffs. It will not be a home game. It will be a first week game because they won't have a bye. So a lot of those things are going to come back, and we'll see what the Cowboys really are. They are in love with it. We scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that game was bad, Rand. It was. I ain't gonna lie to you. I really thought that the Colts had a chance to win that game. At one point, it was just 21-19, and the Colts went for 2. And after that, they left. No, really. Yeah. They said, "All right, then." They went to the tunnel, and they didn't come back out. It was Keanu Reeves and the rest of the replacement players that actually came out and finished that game.
I think they let Matt Ryan finish the game.
Right. Matt Ryan. If nobody knows what I'm talking about, then that means I'm old, and you need to go find the DVD for the replacement players with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman. Classic.
The same DVD that's got the Cowboys' last Super Bowl win on it.
Oh! Now that was it right there. That was it right there. Anthony says the game next week, Washington versus Giants. Are they playing that fast again? They just played.
Let's check the schedule.
Are they playing like that again? That would be crazy.
Eagles got the Giants this week.
Eagles got the Giants this week, but I'm thinking he's talking about the week after. I'm looking at the week after, and it is. They are playing again on December the 18th.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Ryan Young says DVD. Pretty sure that was in the VHS days. You know what, Ryan? I actually did mean VHS. So, yeah, thank you. I didn't mean DVD. I definitely meant VHS for replacement players. Saturday gave up at the fourth quarter. They really did, Anthony. They hung with Dallas as long as they could, and then at some point, Dallas just took it to them. And listen, it's hard for me to give Dallas any credit for anything that they do, but they actually played a very complete game, and I can't take anything away from them. Dak, 20 of 30, 170 yards. That wasn't a whole lot. 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Pollard rushed 12 times, 91 yards. Zeke 17 times for 77 yards. Between the 2 of them, they had 3 touchdowns. I give it that. Gallup had 2 touchdowns. Gallup was balling a little bit out there. CeeDee Lamb had most of the yards. He had a touchdown. So that was good. So they did play a pretty decent game. It's sad. Indy had the ball longer, 31-28. But Dallas just converted. Their third down efficiency was a lot better. They were 7 out of 13. Indy was 4 out of 13. Now, the funny part was that Indy was better at fourth down than they were at third down. They were 3 for 3 on fourth down.
My problem exists with Dallas fans the same as it always has. Great win, right? Great win. But after that win, Brian, did confetti fall?
In their minds.
Did they pass out some kind of a trophy that I missed?
Hey, not only that, Rand, but you just missed the ring ceremony this past Monday.
Oh, man, damn.
They were passing out rings and everything.
Wow. That's my problem with Dallas fans.
It had a 54 in the middle of it.
That's the problem I got with Dallas fans. You know,
That is a problem.
my Steelers
Yeah.
back, a couple of years ago, we started 11-0. I never lighted a cigar because I understand the reality of the situation.
You know what? And you're right, because then once y'all got to like 11-0 or 12-0, then you lost like 4 or 5 games, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was something crazy. I was like, what happened to these dudes?
Didn't even win a playoff game. Didn't even win a playoff game.
Yep. So, I mean, listen, Cowboy fans, we're not saying that you shouldn't be happy with your wins. But those wins do not tie you to the Super Bowl. Okay? You got to keep it in perspective. The reason people don't like you is y'all go to the extremes with stuff. You know, take the win, move on, get ready for your next opponent. Realize you did play an inferior opponent, but that's okay. You're playing who's on your schedule. I'm not going to take anything away from who Philly has on their schedule, and I'm certainly not going to take anything away from who Dallas has on their schedule. You have to play the hand that you're dealt, and that's fine. But still keep it in perspective to realize that just because you scored 54 points in the game, this is the same team that I've seen struggle to score 10 points. So what happens in those games? Where's the confetti? Where's the paper rings and all that kind of stuff? Ryan says, Cowboy fans, y'all go to the extremes of stuff. They do. Every hell, when the schedule comes out, before they even go to mini camps and OTAs and everything else, they already talking about the Super Bowl. That's why people don't like you. You know, that's like a guy that's sitting there seeing a bunch of girls huddled up in a circle somewhere and already thinking he the man, and he ain't talked to nan one of them yet. You don't even know what she gonna say. But you just sitting there going, oh, I got this. Bro, you ain't got nothing yet. You ain't done nothing. You getting yourself in a position to get to that point. But when you get over there to them circle of girls, they might want to start wanting to vet you a little bit. How's your credit? Where you work? You been to jail? How many kids you got? How many baby mamas you get? See, you never know when you get to that circle of them gals what's going to happen when you get there. So all that might look good before you get over there, but once you get into that dance with them girls, then we're going to really see what you got. Anthony says, all last week my Facebook feed was blowing up. Cowboys winning or getting OBJ. DC for hell, baby. DC for hell. That's all I kept getting. Like, hey, how about that? Or one of my Cowboy friends was like, man, they scoring 54 points and they still playing like garbage.
Yeah.
Take the win. Take the win. It counts. It does. It doesn't give you a Super Bowl, but it does count.
The audacity to name yourself America's team. Not to go through some kind of poll and have to be named America's team, but to name yourself America's team. I'm done, man. I'm done.
Right. And the funny thing is, my daughter's 27 years old, so that's the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. But it was before she was born. She was born in May. They won in January, February. So she still ain't never seen the Cowboys win anything of significance. So there's generations. My point is, there's generations of people that have never known the Cowboys to be America's team because they've never seen the success of the organization. So is the name kind of bigger than the person? Yeah, ask Baker Mayfield how having more commercials than wins do you. Yeah, 3 teams in 2 years. That's how it does you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure I'll have more Baker jokes as we go along. But Rand, we're coming down to the stretch. Any games that you're going to be looking for this week other than the Raiders and the Rams tomorrow? I know you're all excited for that. Got your popcorn and your beer ready.
Pumped up to see Baker go out there and have a 400-yard game. But
he might. So,
what I'm looking forward to is definitely doubleheader Sunday. First game up. My Steelers will be playing them Ravens.
Woo!
And then I get to switch over at 4 o'clock and see my Panthers go into Seattle and hopefully pull off a win so we get inch a little bit closer to Tampa Bay.
That will be interesting. I want to see the 1 o'clock game between the Jets and the Bills and see if Mike White can do early. Right. That's going to be a great game. You've got the Ohio game, the Ohio Bowl, Cincinnati and Cleveland. That should be interesting because it'll be Deshaun's second game back. Joe Burrow seems to be catching fire. He's got his favorite target back. So that'll be a really good game to see as well. Let's see if Sunshine can do anything against the Tennessee Titans as the Jaguars play Tennessee, and really see if this Jaguars team is catching on. I mean, they're not really playing for any playoff implications, but it would be really nice to see if Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne is taking the next step. You got the Chiefs and the Broncos. That should be like 47-3. Eagles and the Giants, that should be more like 36-13. The Bucks and the 49ers are going to be intriguing at 425 to really see how bad 49ers are going to beat them without really having to worry about their quarterback winning the game. Give it to Debo, give it to McCaffrey, give it to Ayuk, and you should have a decent game as a quarterback. We're going to see if Tua's Dolphins can go in against the Chargers and really see how that's going to come out. And then you got the Patriots and the Cardinals. I am hoping for a Patriots win on Monday Night Football because I just totally detest Kyler Murray. Anyway, Ryan Young says, as strange as it is, Burrow is 3-0 versus Mahomes. That's true. And 0-4 against the Browns. That is totally true. Sincerely, a sad Cincy fan. I don't get that because when he plays Cleveland, he is by far the better quarterback most of the time. They just, when they get against Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett, they just don't do well. But you know what? A lot of teams don't do well against Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. So, they can make really good quarterbacks look pretty ordinary from time to time. So that is their MO.
You have my condolences, Ryan, from the last time on Halloween night when I actually picked your Bengals to beat the Browns, and the Browns beat the brakes.
And I was too. I was rooting for them too, bro. I said the same thing. I was like, there's no way in the world that Burrow ain't going to throw for 450 yards in this game. And it didn't happen. So I am looking for better results this time. I'm looking for Burrow's record against the Browns to go from 0-4 to 1-4. I really am. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be the Deshaun of old until probably start of next season. He's got to get football speed in playing in practice and stuff like that is not football speed. His skills are probably still going to be there, but he has to work through progressions and things like that. Ryan says either he or the entire organization doesn't take the Cleveland game seriously. They didn't have Clowney in those first few losses. They obviously circle the KC game, though. Hopefully they can turn that around. That's a good point. I forgot about the fact Clowney was out of those games. And you're right. Maybe they just walk into those Cleveland games thinking, hey, we're the better team. We just going to roll in here, and they're going to just lay down for us. And you got to remember, at the end of the day, whether we're talking about the Cleveland Browns or whether we're talking about the Houston Texans, well, nobody's talking about the Houston Texans, but I just did. But they're professionals. These guys they play for a lot of pride and stuff like that. Even if their team sucks as a collective, there's some guys out there that can go out there from time to time and make some big plays that can impact the course of a game. So that's why I say you can't play these games on paper. You got to play them out on the field of play. And at the end of the day, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Any final comments, Ryan?
Nope, I'm just hoping for a good Sunday. Hopefully by the next time we get on these airwaves come Thursday, I'm talking about a double victory Sunday. And there's nothing better than a double victory Sunday.
And, well, it will be a triple for you because all we need is the 49ers to do what they should do, have the Panthers show up against Seattle. That defense hopefully should give Geno some trouble, hopefully. And your Steelers win, that'll be a nice triple for you.
Yeah, and if Cincy, y'all do what y'all need to do, that'll help get the Browns down to where they belong, the bottom of the AFC North.
Oh, I'm sorry. I also have a message, not that this is my political show, but I do have a message from Christian Walker.
Get home and raise your kids! Oh, my gosh!
I just had to. And with... Because I'm really going for this comedy thing. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, God. Hold on. I've got one more comment there. I'm going to pull it out. Thank you both for the top-level entertainment on a non-football night. Much respect. Good luck on Mount Prime Time. Yes, I will see you guys at the top of Mount Prime Time. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll get there well after everybody else has already gotten to the top. Either way, I will get there at some point. Y'all have a good night. Brian Parker, Randall Hargrove. We'll see y'all again. Have a good week.